James Kaufman, World News Report today, December 26, 2024. God bless you and yours, no matter where you are in the world. Please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell for critical future updates. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been telling y'all it's going to be a really hard job to get us out of the trouble we're in. And I mean for Donald Trump. Over the last 15 years, the government has put us in a real situation, overspending and selling trillions of dollars worth of treasury bonds. A good guesstimate at this time is we've sold about $35 trillion in treasury bonds to fund this lavish lifestyle over the last 15 years and have really never recovered from the last depression, recession, whatever you want to call the housing incident in 2008. Now, these bonds must be refinanced in 2025 alone, at least $7 trillion worth of them. And this gentleman's going to show y'all or explain to y'all how hard that really is. Trump versus the Treasury. I wish him the very best of luck, but let me say that he's in a very deep hole to start.
America's going to default on its treasury debt. Millennials are going to default on their student loans. People are going to start defaulting on their credit card debt. We're going into debt deflation. Look at this graph. This is literally borderline treason. This is not the yield curve, but a curve of all the U.S. treasuries that have been issued. And a third of them, more than a third of them, are going to come due in Trump's next administration. Look at this, Linda. Jay Powell and Janet Yellen have loaded the entire corporation up on their line of credit. Look at this graph. We couldn't issue 10 and 20 and 15 and 25 and 30-year bonds for the last 4 years. We've paid for the fucking war in Ukraine, the destruction of Gaza, the fake housing thing where we brought interest rates back down, and as soon as they did that, interest rates went up. Because look at this graph, people. This is the scariest graph in all of fucking finance. And you're not going to see it anywhere else. By the way, shout out to Process for Growth Consulting. I use a lot of his stuff, and I always try to reference him. Process for Growth Consulting. Once a week, go look at his stuff, and he does a deep dive on this. Now, what does this mean? This means that Trump has to roll over $10 trillion in his administration. This is a setup to destroy the next administration. Okay, now we're doing the thing with the BRICS. If you try to get off the dollar, we're going to put 100% tariff on your goods. Like, it's going to get worse under Trump, people. I know everybody wants to celebrate red and blue, but this doesn't have anything to do with fucking red and blue, okay? This is the credit of the United States of America. And if this were a corporation, that CFO who put this balance sheet together would be liable. This is like Enron shit. Think about a government. What does a government do? The government's job is just never to blow itself up, right? Like, look at this. Why is there not $2 trillion worth of 30-year bond? Look at this. Why is there not in other words, you could take all this and just spread it out like cream cheese on a bagel, so you'd never have these big influxes of credit that's coming due. Like, you don't have to have any financial knowledge to understand this. This would be like your husband goes to Vegas and comes back with an $80,000 credit card. And you go, what the fuck did you do? It's like Wolf of Wall Street. You had a $47,000 month on your expense thing. That's what the Biden administration just did. And I think that it is conceivable that Trump will bury Jay Powell. Because what they're going to do is they're going to go in, and if Patel is the FBI agent, he's going to go, we need to see the correspondence between Jay Powell and Janet Yellen that created this. We created this $10 trillion bomb that's about to go off. I did a thing that people liked that I did Trump. And by the way, I'm not a Trump-tard. I've beat up on Trump. I think the whole ear thing is not what we think it is. I'm skeptical about everything. That's my job. That's why a lot of people like to listen to my stuff. I think they come in and they say, we want to see how the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury put this pile of shit together. And believe it or not, there is actual laws on the books that revolve around the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve. The dual mandate of the Fed is low inflation and maximum employment. And my TikTok feed this morning just blew up with millennial tech people saying there's no jobs. There's no jobs. There's no full fucking employment. You have to be a goof to believe that. All the numbers are wrong. All the numbers are bullshit. It's $7 for a jar of mayonnaise, and we have to roll over $10 trillion in the next Trump administration. Okay, so where do we go from here? It's going to start with this Black Friday thing in Walmart. It's going to expand to a boycott. People are going to be like, I'm not paying $100 fucking so I can check out my own groceries or go stand in the fucking line in this, 100,000 square foot building, and I have to wait in line for 25 minutes because you won't hire somebody else to run to check out the groceries. We are on the verge of something you have to do the fourth turning thing. Okay. Baby boomers, what the election was the end of the baby boomers. Okay. MSNBC's over. 50,000 people, 24 to 55, watch MSNBC. The other 450,000 people are people over the age of 55. MSNBC is like elder abuse. Okay, so the old guy, by the way, the last four presidents of the United States, to include Trump, were all born in 1946. Okay, so we have a baby boomer-based system. That changed when Tulsi Gabbard and Bobby Kennedy joined Trump. So we now have a Gen X administration. Here's what Gen X gets to deal with right here. Okay, so I know I'm all over the place, but just stay with me. There's no script here, there's no notes, it's just like fire hose. Okay, so we came out of that early 90s recession, which was pretty significant. How did they get out of it? In 1994, if you're in finance, you know it's the only year since 1980 where interest rates went up significantly and the price of bonds went down. And then that blew up the market so bad. Remember James Carville said, what was it? In my next life, I want to come back as the bond market. Alan Greenspan just said, fuck it. We're going to make bonds go up. We're going to make stocks go up. Well, Gen X, you just woke up to this. This is the result of this for the last 30-some years. Okay? $10 trillion coming due in 4 years. At the same time, the BRICS are just expanding and expanding and expanding. They're not creating a reserve currency, people. They're just, they all used to run their business, their global trade off the dollar, and then they've recycled U.S. treasuries, these things. That's over, okay? It's not about a reserve currency. They're just getting off this. It's really not the dollar-based system. It's really the U.S. treasury-based system. All right. So baby boomers are done. We don't need a president who shits himself. We don't need a drunk woman who can't do Joe Rogan because she can't answer any questions and she just has like corporate word salad answers. So what we did is we voted for the guy who's insane, Agent Orange, but put this collection of people together of all kinds of walk, from Bobby Kennedy, who cuts off whale heads, to Tulsi Gabbard, who's like the Samoan surfer, Hindu warrior princess. And they won, okay? So now it's a Gen X thing. So Gen X, I would have you stare at this and ask yourself, what should we do? Here are some of the options. Hope it works. It might. I'd say that's 1 out of 4. Restructure the whole thing, which would look like what? And if we start to expand out here, if you look at the graph, go to Fred 30-year, just what I said, Fred. It's the St. Louis Federal Reserve. You'll see that coming out of COVID, The long-term stuff, the 30-year stuff, exploded, right? So that's what this is a big trick. Now let me explain what Jay Powell and Janet Yellen. By the way, she was in charge of the financing of the Ukraine war. There's 1 million men unalived. Janet Yellen financed that. If she went to the Nuremberg trials, she'd be put in prison for the rest of her life. She financed that war. And right here you can see right here's the bill for the Ukraine war. Okay? We can issue a whole bunch of 10 and 20 and 30, and what'll happen is the mortgage rates will go to double fucking digits. Because around the world, everybody that runs pensions and sovereign wealth funds that handles trillions of dollars, they know this better than Americans know this. We have to figure out what to do with these $10 trillion. We could have the Fed turn on QE. The Treasury could print money. Believe it or not, all over TikTok they say the dollar's collapsing. It's not. We probably are going to start printing money again. Have a nice week.
And bingo, he finally got it there. We're going to start QE again. That's our only way out of this situation. That's why President Trump has asked to raise the debt ceiling immediately. Yes, folks, we're going to start printing money to make the economy feel or appear like it's okay, when in fact, it's getting worse and worse and worse. That is the only way out of this end game of having $7 trillion of debt due this year. Period. God bless you and yours, folks. We'll try to sell some long-term debt as well. Instead of the 2-year and 10-year bonds, we should have always been selling the 30 and 40-year bonds. Share, subscribe, and always remember, anything's possible in Bizarro World.